The world never say that when they egging on the beat. When everybody put on a song, everybody egging out, nobody don't be saying that. We feel like that right now.
That's your Gap hoodie, is that right? That's you, who you're shooting at?
No.
All right, now back it up again.
That's your Gap hoodie, right? He hit me. Wait, see who he's shooting at? I don't even know. Now run that back again. One of the men tied to Young Dolph's murder is supposedly confessing everything on tape, and he's hinting that some major names might be connected too. Even Yo Gotti. This might just blow the lid off everything.
Since our last interview, Justin Johnson, aka Straight Drop, got sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Young Dolph.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think they gave him another 50 years.
But here's the twist. People in the streets are not vibing with him talking. Word is he might have to keep his head on a swivel for the rest of his life. This wasn't just some Memphis street beef. This was a moment that rattled the whole city and the entire hip-hop scene. Memphis has always been known for being real, but this situation hit deeper than anything before. Back in November 2021, Young Dolph, one of the most respected self-made rappers Memphis ever produced, was taken out in broad daylight.
You know Big Juke?
Yeah, Jiggle, my boy.
Oh, that was your friend?
Yeah, that my boy.
Well, in the trial, in the Justin Johnson Straight Drop trial, they say that Juke had a 100K hit on Dolph.
He was just stopping by Makita's Cookies, a small local bakery he'd supported for years. That day wasn't random. It felt like a statement. 22 rounds fired at a man who built his empire from the ground up without depending on anyone. Surveillance footage later showed two masked shooters pulling up in a white Mercedes. They jumped out, sprayed bullets like they were on a mission, and sped off like it was nothing. Police didn't waste time. They eventually caught up with Justin Straight Drop Johnson, Cornelius Smith, and Hernandez Gobert for allegedly organizing the hit. Another man, Jameis Johnson, was accused of helping them escape and collect payment.
How'd you feel when Straight Drop got sentenced to the murder?
I don't feel no type of way. I don't put myself in that like that. I kill myself.
This case shook the game to its core, and the streets still haven't forgotten. Everybody knew those four guys weren't the whole story. There had to be someone bigger pulling the strings, someone who really wanted Dolph gone. To see how deep it went, you gotta rewind to one of the most heated rivalries in Memphis rap history, Young Dolph versus Yo Gotti. This wasn't just a couple of diss tracks thrown back and forth. It was years of tension, crews clashing, gunfire, betrayal, and real-life danger that went way beyond music. It all kicked off around 2014 when Yo Gotti allegedly tried to sign Dolph to his label, but Dolph turned him down flat, choosing to stay independent and build Paper Route Empire on his own terms. That move didn't sit right with Gotti, and from there, everything started spiraling. The tweets started flying, the subliminal shots turned into full-blown disses, and then came Dolph's album King of Memphis, a title that had the whole city talking. When he dropped Play with Yo Gotti, it was clear this wasn't just about music anymore. It was personal.
Straight Drop only got $800 for that hit. Can you imagine killing somebody and your reward is a PlayStation and maybe a game or two?
You don't know if that's true or not.
And in Memphis, once things get that personal, there's no turning back. This is a city built on loyalty, respect, and old street codes where every move means something. Public disrespect doesn't just stay online, it hits the blocks fast. When you play with someone's name or reputation in a city where credibility is everything, it's only a matter of time before somebody stops talking and starts acting. And sadly, that's exactly how things went down, more than once. The tension didn't just stay in the music, it spilled straight into the streets. The first big incident hit in February 2017 during CIAA weekend in Charlotte, North Carolina. On February 25th, over 100 shots were fired at Young Dolph's bulletproof SUV in what looked like a cold, calculated ambush. Whoever was after him wasn't sending warnings. They wanted him gone for real. The only reason Dolph walked away that day was because he had invested in a bulletproof ride. That move literally saved his life.
Messed up situation. It's a messed up situation. And the fact that both, people were getting killed on both sides. There was other shootings and murders that were happening, man.
Without it, the story could have ended right there in Charlotte. But the violence didn't stop. It only got worse. Just 7 months later, in September 2017, Dolph was shot multiple times outside the Loews Hollywood Hotel in Los Angeles. He was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, fighting for his life once again. Right after the news broke, rumors started flying everywhere. Some people tried to tie Yo Gotti to the shooting just because he happened to be staying at the same hotel. But LAPD quickly stepped in and said he wasn't a suspect. One of Gotti's associates, Corey McClendon, was arrested but later released and never convicted. Still, people couldn't stop talking. The streets had their own theories, and nobody really believed the story was that simple. Fast forward to September 2024, almost 3 years after Dolph's death, Justin Straight Drop Johnson's trial finally began. The whole Memphis scene was watching that courtroom like a movie. This wasn't just another legal case. It was a moment that could expose the hidden layers behind one of the city's darkest rivalries. Johnson was facing heavy charges: first-degree murder, conspiracy, and possession of a firearm as a convicted felon, charges serious enough to keep him locked up for life. Prosecutors, led by Shelby County Assistant District Attorney Paul Hagerman, came to court loaded with evidence.
But when it's egging on, it's all fun and games. When everybody promoting the beef against other rappers, they love it. That's the song you'll go watch, go listen to before you listen to his whole album.
They showed surveillance footage of two masked men stepping out of a white Mercedes, phone records placing the suspects right near the scene, and ballistic proof linking the weapon straight to the crime. But the whole courtroom shifted when co-defendant Cornelius Smith decided to cooperate. That move turned everything upside down. Smith's testimony hit like a bomb because he didn't just admit to what he did, he hinted that people with real power and influence might have been tied to the situation. These were his words under oath, not confirmed facts. But once they came out, the energy in that courtroom changed instantly. Suddenly, everyone wanted to know, who were the bigger names behind the scenes? According to Smith's version of events, a man known as Big Duke allegedly put a $100,000 bounty on Young Dolph's head, $100 grand just to take out one of Memphis's biggest rap legends. Smith claimed that the bag was supposed to be split 3 ways. He and Justin Straight Drop Johnson would each get $40,000 for actually carrying out the hit, while Hernandez Gotti Man Gobert, who prosecutors said was the one who organized the whole operation, would get $20,000 for putting the plan together. Smith even told the court,
You know how many people miss Dolph and miss Big Juke, man? It fed a lot of people, but we just, we as on the outside looking in, we just think about that a couple days and whatever else on social media after that, but they families, they children, they brothers and they cousins, them people hurt for that.
That he and Johnson allegedly met with Big Duke in the weeks before the shooting to plan how it would all go down. And after Dolph was killed, Smith claimed they supposedly got on FaceTime with Big Duke to confirm the job was done. That statement had the courtroom in shock and the streets buzzing even louder than before. Smith didn't stop there. He said his story went way deeper than people realized. He testified that someone tied to CMG allegedly stepped in to cover $50,000 of his legal fees right after he was arrested in January 2022. That claim had everyone in the courtroom whispering. Smith admitted he couldn't pinpoint exactly who sent the money, but he was sure it came from someone on the CMG side. If that's true, it could mean people connected to the label might have been quietly helping the ones accused of pulling the trigger. And if those allegations were even halfway accurate, it would mean this wasn't just one person's bad decision. It could point to something way bigger, a setup involving multiple people, maybe even a network working behind the scenes. That could raise major questions about obstruction, hidden assistance, or just how far this whole situation really goes. Of course, all of this was based purely on Smith's testimony, not confirmed facts. But when he dropped that claim, the courtroom atmosphere changed instantly. You could feel the tension, but things got messy fast. Justin Johnson's defense attorney, Luke Evans, came out swinging. He attacked Smith's credibility right away, saying Smith was either lying or twisting his story just to land a lighter deal with prosecutors. Evans didn't hold back. He even brought up a letter Smith supposedly wrote from jail, telling his family he'd say whatever they needed if it helped him dodge a life sentence. That claim hit hard, throwing every word Smith said into question and leaving everyone wondering who was really telling the truth. If that letter turned out to be real, it would have completely destroyed Smith's credibility as a witness. It would have made everyone question whether he was telling the truth or just spinning a story to save himself.
Some records sold that the black man ain't gonna get the money for.
Evans didn't miss a beat pointing that out. He broke down every inconsistency in Smith's story, especially the part about the money. Smith had claimed he was promised $40,000 for his role in the hit, but then admitted he only got $800 total, $500 at first and another $300 later. That gap was wild, and it made his whole story sound shaky. But even with all that doubt hanging in the air, the jury still sided with the prosecution. On September 26, 2024, Justin Straight Drop Johnson was found guilty on every single count: first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and possession of a firearm as a convicted felon. The verdict came after the jury reviewed everything: the surveillance footage, the phone records, and yes, even Smith's questionable testimony. When the sentence dropped, it hit hard. Life in prison in Memphis. That means Johnson has to serve at least 51 years before he can even think about release. He's around 30 now, so even if he made it through every year of that sentence, he wouldn't step outside those walls again until he's about 81 years old. That's basically his whole life gone. His time on the outside is done. And even though the conviction brought a bit of closure for Young Dolph's fans and the city that loved him, it also cracked open a new wave of questions. People are still asking, who else might have been part of this conspiracy? Was this really just about the shooters, or is there still more to uncover behind the scenes? Parts of Cornelius Smith's testimony about Big Duke were seen as believable enough for the jury to consider, and that's when everyone started asking the real questions. Who else knew what was going on? Who else might have been tied to the plan? And the biggest one that's still hanging over everything, did Yo Gotti know anything about what his brother was allegedly up to, or was he completely in the dark? Right now, there's no public evidence connecting Yo Gotti directly to planning or authorizing any kind of hit. Every accusation so far points to Big Jook, not Gotti himself. But here's what made it complicated. Big Jook wasn't just a random family member. He was Gotti's blood brother and deeply involved in the CMG circle at the time. So when his name got pulled into Smith's courtroom statements, the street started buzzing all over again. Then came another twist that made everything even more mysterious. In January 2024, just months before Smith's allegations surfaced in court, Big Jook was shot and killed outside a Memphis restaurant during a repast gathering. No one has been arrested for that shooting. Some people in the street started whispering that it might have been retaliation for Young Dolph, possibly connected to folks close to Paper Route Empire. But again, there's no solid proof. Still, the timing had everybody talking because Big Jook's death meant he never got the chance to respond to Smith's claims, clear his name, or drop the truth about what really went down. His death basically took away a key voice that could have filled in some major blanks. And then there's Hernandez Govan, another crucial name in this story. The man accused of organizing and coordinating the entire hit. Govan pleaded not guilty, and in August 2025, he was found not guilty on all charges. Court records and even social media posts showed that he had strong ties to both Yo Gotti and Big Jook, which only fueled more speculation. But again, there's still no public evidence officially linking Govan or anyone else to Yo Gotti in connection with the murder plot. This whole situation just keeps raising more questions than answers. The heat around these allegations all centered on one thing: Big Jook's connection to Hernandez Govan. Prosecutors claimed Govan's link to him ran deep, but Govan stood firm through it all. He reportedly turned down a plea deal and decided to take his chances at trial, insisting he had nothing to do with the murder. He wasn't backing down. He wanted his name cleared once and for all. Then there was the fourth defendant, Jameis Johnson, who's actually Justin Johnson's half-brother. In June 2023, Jameis took a plea deal on accessory charges after admitting that he helped his brother escape and helped move money around after the hit. His testimony added more fuel to the fire because he mentioned messages from Smith asking about Big Jook, messages that lined up with parts of Smith's version of events. But since Jameis was cooperating to reduce his own sentence, people knew to take his words with caution. He had every reason to tell prosecutors whatever they wanted to hear if it meant cutting time off his own bid. Investigators didn't stop there. They started digging into whether anyone else in Yo Gotti's circle might have been connected. Even CMG artist Black Youngsta's name got tossed into the mix because of his history in the 2017 Charlotte shooting incident involving Dolph. And then another twist hit early in 2022 when Justin Johnson and Cornelius Smith were arrested. Reports came out that they had hired Tony Arthur Horn, a lawyer who had previously represented both Yo Gotti and Black Youngsta. That detail had people raising eyebrows all across Memphis, but Horn later dropped them and made it clear he wasn't hired by CMG or representing anyone from the label. Was still, that short connection between the suspects and someone tied to Gotti's legal team only made the case look even murkier. And now, the question everyone's still asking refuses to go away. If Cornelius Smith was really telling the truth about Big Jook offering $100,000 for the hit, was Jook acting on his own? Or was someone else in the loop? With Big Jook gone, that truth might never come out, and that mystery still haunts Memphis to this day. The lack of solid evidence linking Yo Gotti directly to the hit, combined with Big Jook's death before he could speak for himself, left a giant hole in the story. One of the biggest talking points is still Cornelius Smith's claim that someone connected to CMG dropped $50,000 on his legal fees after his arrest. If that was true, it could have pointed to something bigger than one man acting alone. But the problem is, Smith's story was vague vague, and nothing has ever been publicly confirmed about who actually paid that money or if the payment even went down the way he described. And in Memphis street culture, that kind of thing isn't unusual. Sometimes people on the outskirts, friends, associates, or anyone with loose connections might throw in money for legal help just to keep someone from flipping, so even that detail could mean a lot of different things. But one part of this whole case that still sounds wild is the money gap. Smith talked about a $100,000 bounty, yet said he only ever saw $800 total. That's not just a small difference, that's a massive one. If someone really promised 40 racks for a hit and only handed over enough for a PlayStation, you'd expect someone to be furious. Retaliation, betrayal, something. The fact that Smith still cooperated with prosecutors after admitting he got shorted makes people wonder if that big money story was ever real at all, or if it was exaggerated to make his deal look more valuable. It also raises another big question. If this was supposed to be a professional, well-funded hit with a $100,000 budget and another $50,000 supposedly going toward legal fees, why was everything handled so sloppy? The tiny payout, the loose ends, the messy trail, it all makes the whole thing look more chaotic and personal than organized and strategic. Maybe this wasn't a massive CMG-backed operation like some claimed. Maybe it was something smaller, fueled by ego, pride, and personal beefs that got way out of control. One thing's for sure, Young Dolph's death didn't just shake Memphis, it changed the entire conversation about street loyalty, independence, and the hidden dangers of fame. His story is still echoing through the city, his legacy, his grind, and the questions that still don't have clear answers. If you found this story eye-opening, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment below. Tell us what you think. Was this a personal street vendetta or a deeper conspiracy still hiding in the shadows?